Sorry.
Let's vote.
Ah,
Approved.
tequila malt. Huh? Tequila.
Yes, we are ready.
Great. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the October 28, 2024 meeting of the Land Use and Waterfront Committee. My name is Majid Abdulsamad, and I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight, we're joined by Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. I don't know if this is online. This meeting is called to order at 6:31 p.m. As a reminder, New York state law requires all committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public here in person, please raise your hand. I'll identify you so you can speak. Jim offered to take minutes. Thank you so much, Jim. And with that, Brendan will take roll call.
Committee members, I will call your name. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Majid Abdulsamad.
Present.
Tanya Arias.
Present.
Victoria Benatar, I don't see. Jim Collins.
Yep.
Maya Donahue.
Present.
Alec Militic.
Present.
Rich Mintz.
Present.
Larry Shire.
Present.
Sandra Sherrod, I don't see. Letty Simon.
I'm here.
Susan Steinberg.
Present.
Gabe Turzo. And James Vera.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Who was the absent member again?
Victoria and Sandra are not present
Right.
with us.
All right. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office and is reflected on the screen before you. One tweak we're going to do is that we're going to take the Esker update, then we're going to jump to number 3 and hear the presentation from 488 3rd Avenue. Then we'll go through the rest of our agenda. So if there are no objections to that, we will adopt the agenda. All right, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the August 26th and September 23rd meetings were distributed ahead of time by the board office. Thank you, Larry. Thank you guys for helping those. If there are no objections, we will adopt both minutes as drafted. Again, if there are any objections, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the minutes from August 26th and September 23rd are adopted and they'll be available on the CB6 website soon. Quick ground rules. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, please, no one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand. I'll identify you to speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question, please raise your hand through Zoom and I'll identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it's extremely important that only one person speaks at a time so folks at home can track what's being said. The chat function should not be used for committee business, but rather only to alert us to any technical difficulties or to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud for the record. So with that, that's out of the way, and we can dive right in. And we have a presentation on Esker, the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project. I see online, I see Ethan and Desiree.
Yeah.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you both?
I'm doing well. It's good to be here. So yes, my name is Ethan Kraft. I am here to present construction updates for the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project. I'm joined here by other folks from the PMCM, including Desiree, who will help me with answering some questions tonight, as well as our CCL, Tanya Wakun. So let me share my screen. You guys can see that all right?
Yes, we can.
Alrighty. So tonight, just an overview, we are going to go through our PA1 and PA2 construction updates, and then we'll spend a little bit more time on parallel conveyance because that's the bulk of what's happening up in CB6. So just to give an overview again of ESCR, these are our 3 contracts under Esker. Project Area 1 is the bulk of the landmass of the project. That's mostly East River Park. In Project Area 2, we have Astor Levy Playground, Stuyvesant Cove Park, and Murphy Brothers Playground. And then parallel conveyance is sort of spread all throughout the city, or all throughout this the east side. Just to go through some of the work that's happening on each of these contracts, in Project Area 1, again, that's mostly East River Park. We have a few closures in the park. A couple weekends ago, on October 20th, we installed the Corlears Hook pedestrian bridge over the FDR Drive, and we have some pictures of that in a slide or two. There's also just ongoing utility work. We're continuing to fill the park in the portions that are closed, and then we've opened ball fields 1 and 2, and we continue to work on the Phase 1 Esplanade, as well as amphitheater seating and the tennis courts and basketball courts south of the or just north of the Williamsburg Bridge, actually. And then in Project Area 2, nearly everything is open. Murphy Brothers opened just a couple weeks ago. Again, we have some photos from that. It was nice to see a few members of CB6 there at that event. And all of our flood wall and floodgates are complete in Project Area 2. And then turning to parallel conveyance, again, this is spread sort of all over the place. In Corlears Hook Park and Water Street, we're doing utility relocations and sewer installation. Water Street remains closed. We expect that to open mid-November. At East House and in Delancey, there's more utility relocations as well as test piles, and then Con Ed gas and steam work. And then up in CB6 area, we have utility relocations in both locations, as well as Con Ed steamwork and then ongoing test piles. And again, I'll get into those things in more specific detail in just a little bit. So within Project Area 1, again, we installed the Corlears Hook Bridge during an overnight closure of the FDR Drive. You can see on that picture in the top right that we roll the bridge along sort of robotic hoists, I suppose, and lift it and place it into place on its abutments. So future activities for that will be pouring the concrete deck and taking care of things like that. And we hope to open that up in 2025. And then at the bottom of that slide, you can see some of the renderings for what that area will look like. This is the southern portion of the park near Corlears Hook Park. Okay, in Project Area 2, this is just a map of the area. Everything is open pretty much. We still have some construction of the Solar One project that is not part of Esker, but it is obviously taking up a portion of Sty Cove Park. Murphy Brothers Playground opens to the public in October, and it's a really nice playground, lots of new equipment, new ball fields, dog runs, basketball courts, and planting is expected to get underway for that park to add some greenery here in November. The ribbon cutting and floodgate demonstration happened just a few weeks ago with the mayor. It was great to, again, see folks from CB6 there and see the floodgates in action. It was my first time seeing it, so that was a very cool sort of event. And then I know last time we had a few questions, particularly around PA2, so we have a few answers to those. We've heard that the floodgate testing is going very well with the Department of Environmental Protection, which will be the agency that operates the floodgates, and I have more on that in a moment. Within the tracks where the roller gates roll, sort of like a train, most of the asphalt for those tests are removed beforehand, and any sort of pebbles or anything that remains, the gates are so heavy that it compresses them down into the gates. Eventually, the asphalt system will be replaced with a removable plate, and that will be designed, fabricated, and installed prior to the completion of the entire flood protection system, which includes PA1 and parallel conveyance. In terms of the anti-graffiti coating on Jersey barriers, there is none along the Greenway, sort of on the west side of the bike path as you're going north. And then the bollards, we were just looking at it today. We're coordinating with DOT and SBS to determine where bollards are going in the bike path, specifically near the gas station. I know that there was some concern about cars driving in the bike path. So we're in touch with both DOT and SBS about that. And then there was also a funding question for the Pinch Point project. it has been allocated over $100 million for that. And I know that DDC is hoping for procurement to begin in the months ahead. So back to the floodgate operation. Again, this will be operated by the new Bureau of Coastal Resilience under DEP. Last week, we had Deputy Commissioner Lorianne Farrell present at our community advisory group for ESCR, and she provided just a little bit of clarity on their early plan. So I included that slide here. Just to go through it quickly, you can kind of see how as a storm or a major event gets closer, more and more things will close, with the FDR among the final things to close so that they are able to get people out of the area if necessary, and then allow for crews to mobilize within those areas as well. Again, she emphasized that this was their early plan. And I provided the link here for the full ESCR CAG meeting. She began presenting around an hour in, so you can watch that at the link below. And then we'll upload this presentation to our website tomorrow, so you'll be able to click right through and check that out for some more detail from her directly. Okay, so turning to parallel conveyance, this is the project that is increasing the capacity of our storm drainage system for major flood events. And this is some of the action that's happening around Avenue C especially, and then East 20th, 23rd, and East 18th Street. As you can see here, I'll focus mostly on location 5 and 6. Test piles are ongoing. We have utility relocation in all of those locations, and then there are some test pits near Avenue C from East 20th to 23rd Street as well. So just to share a little bit more about the test pile work, we expect that to go on for approximately 4 more weeks. As they are installing the test piles into the ground, that can be a very noisy and dusty activity. So that is expected to wrap up in about a month. And that's just the installation before they actually test the piles themselves. But the full operation from installation to testing is expected to take 4 more weeks. There will be some weekend work that is at East 18th and Avenue C. We know that last time there were some concerns about East 18th being sort of a tricky intersection. We do have a flagger on site, and as work picks up there, the team will get traffic enforcement agents involved if necessary. And then that test pile work is it's testing the strength. It's used to determine the capacity of the piles before they install permanent piles, which will be used to support the underground stormwater and drainage infrastructure. And then that very deep and heavy sewer work is expected to begin in 2025. And as we get a clearer view of that timeline, we will happily bring it back to CB6. And then just what we've heard for this contract, we got a lot of questions about the chamber building at the last meeting. The building itself will house just the controls for the gate and the chamber. The chamber itself will be accessed via a manhole or hatches that are mostly in the street. So 2 separate entrances for 2 separate things. And then we did hear back from the design team. The glass bricks that will be on the outside of the chamber building are graffiti resistant and easy to clean, and then they are also highly durable. So not prone to just, routine breaking like you might see with other glass. And the city team really wanted us to emphasize that they worked hard to make this building fit nicely into the community. They didn't want it to just, stick out like a sore thumb. So the design process, it was multiple rounds of design consideration, rigorous, extensive, and tedious review, and then scrutiny and redesign. So they put a lot of effort into designing this nicely. And then a separate issue, we got some concern last time about how when water is discolored, it's hard to know which agency or project is responsible. We did look into what was causing it in the specific instance cited last time. We know that the Department of Environmental Protection was working in that area, and they do routine maintenance on the water system, and sometimes that can cause that discoloration. They don't notify us before they do that work, so that's why it can be difficult for us to provide an answer right away on what happened. But in response to that, we did run the hydrants to try to clear out any sediment or anything that was still in the water. And then I'll just close on some photos of the various work that happens under this contract. You can see we have gas main installation. That middle photo is a test pile in action. So the pile's been installed and they're testing its capacity. And then up on East 18th and Avenue C, you can see here there's a steam main being installed. And then I'll just finish. And on this slide, Tanya is our CCL. So if you ever have any problems or questions related to the Esker project, especially parallel conveyance, you can reach out to her. If you have any PA2 or PA1 concerns or questions, those CCL's contact information is on our website. But you can also reach out to any of us and we will point you in the right direction. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Ethan.
Hi, Susan Steinberg here. The chamber building is not going to be open to anybody wandering around, is it? It's just personnel?
Certainly, yes. Yeah, it will just be for authorized personnel.
Okay, I just didn't want to, I didn't want to find sleeping bodies in there.
Certainly not.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Hi, this is Victoria Benatar. I'm wondering if you test with the mock-up of the glass brick, the grout.
That's my name.
Because even if the glass is anti-graffiti, maybe the grout is not, and it seems a little thick.
I had.
You're asking about the grout within the glass bricks?
Uh-huh.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I know that this design underwent rigorous standards and testing, so we'll take that back and we'll get an answer for you.
Thanks.
Right, good.
Yeah, Jim Collins, I'm taking the notes. Can you send a copy of the pitch deck to the office so that I can
Certainly,
attach
yeah.
it?
I
Thank
sent
you.
one earlier, and I think that
Oh, you did? Okay,
we haven't changed anything since then.
thanks.
Yep, I'll make sure to send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hi, Lawrence Shire. I attended, along with Susan, the Stuyvesant Cove Park Association annual meeting, which was the night before Mayor Adams opened the park. I'm a little unclear as to the status of the city accepting this work that's been done, and I'll mention a few details in a moment. Can you advise as to the punch list items, where we stand and what remains outstanding?
Yes, I know that the punch list is ongoing, so this has not been fully handed over to the city yet, or to, Parks and DEP. I'm not sure about specifically. I don't know if Desiree or Kristen can shed more light on where we are exactly.
Yeah, I think Larry, you're talking about the Stuyvesant Cove Park punch list, is that correct?
Well, I'm assuming
Project.
that's what I'm referring to. I'll mention individual items unless you want to pick them up first.
No, I mean, I think the punch list is something that happens at the end of the project, and it's, a typical thing that happens at the end of a construction project where the construction team walks the project with whomever is going to assume ownership and maintenance of the property afterwards. And so that is an ongoing process right now that DDC is conducting with Parks for their properties, and with EDC and Solar One for their properties. So even if there are items that are outstanding on the punch list, that's something that's still ongoing and being worked out with all the teams.
Majed, would you indulge me so I could mention a list of these?
Sure. Do you think we need it for discussion, or can we follow up offline with that list?
Well, ultimately, we'll go offline but I want to mention it on the record.
Go for it.
Okay, number one, there were issues with water service. In particular, the water fountain at East 20th Street, from the day it was installed, has been defective. It's never been able to fix it. I'm assuming that there's a warranty that you could replace it with. There's another water fountain closer to the ferry terminal, which, other than some graffiti on it, seems to be working fine tonight. So that's one. Number two, relating to water, is the irrigation for the shrubbery and for the trees. That was mentioned at the meeting that the pressure isn't sufficient and that maybe that the lines are perpetually clogged with sediment, and that there's something maybe wrong with the installation. And so I want to flag that, so that this is very frustrating for the gardeners there. And they obviously like to have that taken care of. And number three involves something that was mentioned earlier, and that's an ongoing issue with graffiti. I came up by the ferry today, and what wasn't mentioned was graffiti on the floodgates. Now, you mentioned that the flood wall was specially treated. The wall by the parking lot is not. What about the paint on the gates?
I believe all components of the flood protection, the gates included, did have the graffiti coating as well. But we could certainly confirm that. But I believe
Correct.
both gates and the walls have the protective coating.
Right, so the gate that's right opposite the ferry is gate 12. Right next to it, gate 11 is still filled with asphalt. I know that you put some rubber strips in to fill by the tracks by gate 13, which was the demonstration at the opening. I just wanted to call your attention. This is the gate that also slides across the exit roadway from FDR Drive, exit 7 northbound. Half of it was never filled with asphalt. That was the roadway part, and the other half still is. Brendan has a copy of the photos that I took, which he can share with you if you'd like. And then the last item related to the security in the park, because actually next to last, there were no cameras installed, and behind this flood wall is a kind of a area that is blind to anybody observing from the outside and trying to look in, except you have to actually physically go past the wall in order to look up and down. And I don't know, since we already have vagrancy problems with needles and the threats to the staff of Solar One, what can be done about that? But bring that as an early alarm, because it's not going to get better next summer. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention relates to the issue of the bollards. The first bollards went up in the spring, just south of the gas station by where Solar One is being constructed. And there were 4 bollards across the path of the bikeway. And unfortunately, they didn't line up with the striping for the bike path, and so that the passageway between them is a little narrow. And if you're on an electric city bike, you have to be really careful not to get the handlebars nabbed on one of them. And as far as maintenance goes on the bike path, there's a lot of trash that's accumulated there. And do these bollards come down in order to bring vehicles for maintenance and for snow plowing in? And then those are my questions.
And I'll say this, right, in the interest of time, some of those may be detailed. So if you don't have answers, feel free to follow up via email. But if you have any immediate reactions, feel free to share those now. You're on mute.
Again, I think a lot of those punch list items are being worked out between EDC and DDC. I will say that the cameras, the security cameras were not part of the original design. Again, there were lots of decisions that were made during the design. We're coming in as the construction group, so we could certainly take that back. But essentially, if it wasn't in the design and the agencies, that are part of the project, haven't requested some sort of change order or something to now incorporate it into the design, it wouldn't necessarily be DDC's responsibility for that. So there are certain things, that would be the responsibility of then the managing agency moving forward. We could certainly, I don't know, Larry, if you have that typed out, if you want to send it over. I think we're taking notes, but if you have something you want to submit specifically.
Okay, the second thing that you might be able to inform us about is the set of bollards that were put up in the spring by the Solar One building. How do they come down in order to facilitate a vehicle for the park maintenance to go through, including for snowplows?
Yeah, we'll have to check. We'll have to just follow up with the maintenance and if they are removable bollards or if whomever's maintaining that greenway has kind of a smaller machinery that they use that fits through. So we will have to follow up on the maintenance question to see if they're removable.
Well, because if you're plowing the whole stretch from 20th Street, you're going to have a big pile of snow, and then you're going to have a hand shovel. You're going to have to dig out between them. That doesn't make much sense at all.
Okay, I'm going to move us on just in the interest of time. A couple of very quick follow-up questions. There's a question about whether there are any updates on the timeline for closure of the north section of East River Park.
No, there are not.
Got it. Do you know when we would have an update?
As soon as we have an update, we will present that.
Got it. Okay, so that's the Jason's question. Okay, I guess when will the greenway be completed up to the Delancey Bridge and the house and entrance?
Likely at the end of the project. So that's the end of 2026. The greenway, we're trying to keep the greenway in full was originally supposed to be closed to use as a construction access way, the entire greenway from the start of the project. However, we did recognize the need for the greenway for folks to be able to go back and forth between the two project areas since the Esplanade and much of the other parts of the park were open. So we were able to get the greenway to remain open as much as possible. And so, but that will, because the northern end of the park, is going to be kind of the last piece to be completed. It will be, completed at the end in its entirety as well.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I know Murphy Brothers Park is already open. There's a question whether there will be adult exercise equipment. Don't think there is. I'm guessing you're not adding.
I don't think there is. I will say that Luke Alicia from the Parks Department spoke at the CAG meeting, and he said some really great things. One of them was that just because these parks that are being constructed are being constructed to the design that was approved for the Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project, it doesn't mean that that's the final design or the final way that they will be forever. He said that there is flexibility in dealing with the Parks Department, and that they, with all of their parks, they see how they operate, they see how the community is using them. As times change, people use parks differently. So he said that, it's if there's a new need that the community is experiencing, then, the Parks Department will work with the community on that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't recollect if this was let under a design build contract. Was it?
No.
It wasn't. So
No.
you had no part of the design. You're only doing the building.
Correct.
Okay. the $100 million that's been appropriated for the pinch point. Do we have any vision as to how that is going to be resolved, the pinch point? Any early vision?
DDC is responsible for that project. It's a separate project, and they have hopes to come to the community. I think it was early next year.
Any thought given to having that be a design build contract?
I would have to have someone from DDC speak on that, so we can bring that back and ask them that question because that is a separate project.
Actually, just following up on that, is DDC involved or is it EDC who's managing the UN Esplanade part?
DDC is leading the Greenway Pinch Point project.
The pinch point, but how about the UN Esplanade where they had the tunnel drilling accident?
Oh, the UN Esplanade. I'm honestly, I'm not sure who was leading that. Ethan, do you recall?
I am 99% sure it was EDC.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
I did read the article, but I don't recall which agency was in charge of it.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. We are short on time, and do you want to ask just in 30 seconds, please, if something that wasn't already covered?
Actually, yeah, it's a rare compliment about the bridge going up. I remember from a couple of years ago a video that you had done of the bridge going across at 53rd Street. And it's an amazing video, YouTube. So if anybody hasn't seen it, I would recommend checking it out. And if you guys have the link, if you want to share it here, it's very impressive.
Great. Thank you, Anne. All
Thank
right.
you.
Unless Ethan and Desiree, you have any additional thoughts for us, thank you both for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate your time. All right, moving us on to the next item on our agenda, and that's an application, a request for certification to permit an open-air cafe and design improvements at an existing Pops Plaza at 488 3rd Avenue. We have our folks presenting person. Welcome. Wherever you can. The mic is here, so actually wherever you can stand.
Actually,
your folks can hear.
my seat.
As long as you all are in the first couple of rows. Anything, the third row is beyond, it becomes a little bit harder for people to hear.
No, you don't sit there and just look at the camera.
One other thing I'll say is that we do have the slide deck.
Further ado, good evening. My name is Barack Robel. I'm land use attorney for the applicant from Holland and Knight. Please forgive my attire, just took a train down from New England visiting my mother, so I didn't get a chance to see them today. I'm here with Bob Esnard. He's a representative of the applicant. Carla Van Dun is the landscape architect who's been working on this application. As you noted, it is a request for a certification from the chairperson of the City Planning Commission for design changes and an open cafe in an existing plaza at 488 3rd Avenue. The plaza was originally provided in connection with the construction of the building in 1972. At this time, the applicant seeks to make improvements to design the plaza in order to improve pedestrian access to and through the space, enhance the landscaping.
Brendan,
And
can you make sure you're sharing?
So let me double check. I've made a slight rookie mistake in forgetting to press there.
here we go.
Thank you.
There we go.
And we just was basically wrapping up and saying that, we're looking to make improvements to this space, improve the pedestrian access and circulation through the plaza, enhance the landscaping and seating, as well as provide for a new open air cafe design. I think from here, I'll let Carla take it and get into the details of the design.
Hi, so yeah, this plaza is located on 3rd Avenue between 34th to the north end and 33rd Street to the south end. If you want to flip to the next page, we can look at some existing condition photos. So, this plan is showing Third Avenue on the bottom of the page. And if you kind of just go around starting at A, you can kind of see that's the 33rd Street side. These photos were actually taken a couple of years ago. We've been in the process of doing this for a while, but it's kind of been a big eyesore down on that block. It's gone through iterations of being empty, having COVID sheds, having lots and lots of chairs and garbage and stuff. So that's definitely that space there on 33rd Street is kind of the reason we kind of started going through this process. And you'll see in the design, a portion of that is going to become part of an approved cafe. As you kind of come around Third Avenue, it's a very tricky plaza. It's not a typical plaza. It's about 22 feet wide at the top of 33rd. As you head west, it gets narrower by the restaurant. And then once you hit Third Avenue, it's only about 10 feet wide. And we have grade changes going on. So it's a long period. So when you're walking on the sidewalk, it seems flat, but it's actually inclining. So as you're going towards the west on 33rd, it's getting more sunken. And same as you're going north on Third Avenue, it's getting more sunken as well. So it's a really narrow, there's existing brick planters that are very narrow, some small openings. So these are all things that we are looking to improve. And then as you come along 34th Street, that's where there is the entrance to the residence there. That was more recently updated in the 2012, I believe. So you kind of see new red brick there as opposed to old brown brick. There was a ramp put in, an ADA ramp. You can kind of see is where the ramp was put in. Originally, when this plaza was designed, there were stairs that come down that corner, kind of between J and L on the plan, that kind of came right into the plaza, but it was a really unsafe, slippery condition. There was no awning overhang over that. So that was something that actually was taken out and this new stair entrance was put in. And you can see that this was more newly planted, made it nice for the residences. So it's kind of, we kind of went through this process with the Department of City Planning to look at how we could improve this to better meet the requirements of current Pops plazas, how we can make it more opening and welcoming for the community, and how we can aesthetically make it look better. So we can go to the next slide.
There we go.
I think back
You-
one.
which one?
Maybe back two, I think.
Too fast.
There we go.
Whoa. We went the other direction.
It's just taking time to
It
catch up.
takes-
There we go.
No, you had
One more.
one more.
I think-
Hold it.
It's taking a while to load.
Don't press it.
Okay.
So this plan kind of has some arrows on it that show access paths and stuff that we're kind of doing for requirements. So that's kind of what the purple is that you see. But basically what we're doing here is the corner of Third Avenue and 33rd Street. There's these two sections that are in blue rectangles. That is what is the designated cafe area. And that will have striping on the ground, the chairs and all the restaurant stuff stays within those two corners. There's certain regulations. It can't be more than a third of the frontage, all these sorts of things. We kind of definitely worked with DCP to make sure it worked with the current plaza. And then that allowed us to make the west end of 33rd Street, this pocket park that we're trying to do. So the existing plan is in the upper right-hand corner. You may see there's a tiny staircase that comes down currently at the upper west side of the East 33rd Street, 5 feet wide. We're making it 9 feet wide, and then we're adding 2 other staircases as well. Again, we're dealing with grade changes, so we want to be careful. We have 1 step, and then we kind of break it and have 2 steps, so we're not like having these risers that are changing very quickly over one run. So we kind of really try to open it up to the public. We put in all sorts of seating there. We have back seating, backless seating, bench seating, movable seating. We're putting in a bottle filler, a couple trash receptacles, and we actually are creating a big planting bed as well. One of the challenges here is we have lots of skinny planting areas that don't give us enough room for trees. So this was an area where we could kind of put enough soil depth in and height to give a nice tree planting there. So that's kind of what's going on 33rd Street. 3rd Avenue, we're just replanting the whole thing. We're gonna make it really nice. Back to 34th Street, we are adding another entrance there. So instead of having that corner step that originally was there, that was a little bit unsafe, we're instead keeping the corner, we're actually keeping it low. One thing we're doing there is we're getting rid of the high brick walls that are currently there, and we're making it flush with the sidewalk up above, about 3 feet, 30 inches in that corner. So you're gonna be up on the sidewalk, see planting, and it's gonna go down. So you're a lot more visually connected into that portion of the plaza than currently is. We're gonna have a big wide open staircase added right there on 3rd Avenue. We are getting rid of the hedges that are in the planting bed on 34th Street side there, and instead doing trees. So again, you're gonna have low planting now, you're gonna have trees that you're kind of looking through and under. And we're adding benches up on the sidewalk level as well, and movable seating and a bench. So we're really trying to, just make it feel more like a plaza, because currently you would never know it's a plaza. Just a part of it is just like the design that when it was done, but we're trying to do these things to make it nicer. So you can go to the next page. I'm kind of just showing some of the amenities, some of the different types of seating, some of the plantings. We went through that really quick, but yeah, so there's some plantings, a lot of evergreens, some grasses that are tidy and will kind of look evergreen as well. Some roses and azaleas as well to kind of give us some color. And we've got a bottom filler, we've got the trash receptacle, all, furniture that's very durable. Going to be all the stuff that can be bolted down will be bolted down. The movable tables and chairs will obviously be taken care of by the owner or the cafe proprietor. And we're doing lighting. We're adding a lot of lighting to the plaza, so that we can see in the bottom right hand corner. We're adding all new pole lights that shine down. We have to be careful because we have like our first floor there in our building that is so we're very careful about not going too high. But adding a lot more lighting to the building, wall lighting, step lighting. And then the next page, you'll see we're adding all new signage. That's bringing us up to the POP's current requirements. So we're gonna have one big sign that's going to, on each long side, we're gonna have one big sign that has all of the information on it. And then we have these open to the public signs that I'm showing all the different sort of ways they're gonna be done, given the different conditions. And then there's one more page, I think, that just has section cuts through the property and a couple of details. So the top one is 34th Street. If you're standing in the building itself, kind of looking at the streets, you can kind of see the stairs going up and those plantings there, the lollipop trees and the low plantings. That's the backs of the benches on the street. So you can see it's a lot more visual to the street than it was before. The second section down is through 33rd Street. So this is the cafe side. So that whole area off to the left-hand side is where the cafe is going to be, and the right-hand side is where we're creating all these breakthroughs with steps and benches. And then the third one down is the 3rd Avenue, just like the whole long section of that with all the new plantings and light poles and things that we're putting in. And then just a couple details of some of the new stairs and screening from the garage that goes in the block and all that sort of thing. So that's what we have.
I'd just like to say one thing, on behalf of the owner, this has been a wonderful building for us at one level. It's a very successful residential building and we're very proud of. It has unique characteristics that are sort of brought up by the shape, because it's not a plaza, the buildings sit in the middle of a big open space where people, build something around it, and we have a few of those, but this is kind of like a strip around the building, and it has a lot of people standing at 34th Street because the bus and the transportation, they're there, and it sort of changes the dynamic that the little benches became really big sitting areas for everybody rather than a planting. So to try to design it and make it so that it's usable again as a sitting area, at the same time, not someplace where people just sit around, you know, for whatever reason. And then the other part, which is maybe the only issue we've ever had with this building, is the southern part of the site is always to be a retail space, and it's been a restaurant almost since the day the building was built. And it is the kind of thing that is very hard if the building if we don't have a retail tenant. We actually have had very successful retail tenants. Some of them have done it well, and some of them haven't done it so well. And this has been kind of frustrating in the last couple of years because of COVID. Real estate things have changed dramatically, especially restaurants. And then our issue here of trying to keep it active, and the COVID has stopped everything. So what we couldn't do in the regular situation, meaning not eat on the plaza. If people that have looked at this corner could remember that there was a tent not only on over the plaza, but into the street as well. And so it was a very successful restaurant, but I'm not so sure it was so successful all around, you know? And so changing this, and Carl has done a terrific job of taking something that's kind of really not seen as a positive thing and making it positive with the lighting and adding the seats and the color, and then trying to make it so that we have access on the plaza, and at the same time are able to conform to the rules. This building was built before all of the regulations, and so what was good then, because the idea was to make it with a little greenery around it, and then lots of things changed. In the last 2 years, we were working with city planning, had to stop for the COVID, and we actually, they were wonderful to work with and very creative. And Carl, I think we're very happy with what she did. Hopefully the community will see it as an asset.
Great, thank you all. Go ahead, Victoria.
I only have, it's a nice project. I only have one suggestion. You were commenting about the lights and the height of the lights. I would suggest, modestly, you know, not to interject in the project, but to have on this side all the lights the same height, so the floor have the same impact. You know, you don't want to, I don't know if that's, and that's one question.
That's what we have.
Well, you can see the elevation.
Well,
It's
this one
higher.
higher, this is higher.
Oh, because the ground goes up. Oh,
Yes,
Yeah.
they are different heights. And one other question that I wanted to ask you, how are we going to, this is not going to permeate the restaurant to the other?
Well, if you go back to one slide, number 3 slide,
Yeah, the overall plan.
right?
Okay.
This is kind of, I know it.
Okay,
And
got
everything's okay, I just say.
I got it.
But this is the restaurant, the blue area.
Mhm.
Blue area is specifically restaurant area. And
Okay.
what we show here is just basically a sitting area theoretical, because that's not the way it is, but they have an area, so they can do it, you know, 4 people at one table rather than 2 on each side. And what we have to do is provide access. So the way it is now, it's a dead end, you know, you come in here,
Yeah.
and then there's a stair over here.
Yeah.
And it's just a big, long, sort of dark space. What this, I think, will help the issue, because
Yeah,
frankly, the only issue we ever really had here has been homeless. And if there's somebody not using the space, it just fills up with people. And so we have exit, entrance, and then these are public seats. As Carla was saying, this is sort of like a park where people could sit at. And this is where the restaurant is, right in front of the
Okay.
restaurant itself.
it would permeate them.
All right, so, I'm sorry, so this whole blue path that I see
See.
here, not the,
No,
not
the
the,
path, that's.
this is all public,
That's
this is all public,
And all here is public,
okay.
all here is public,
Mhm.
all here is public with a ramp. And when we talked about this originally, it was a little hard to, well, there was just stairs coming from this side to that side and went down, and we had, it was very accessible, but it was also very dangerous. And so to simplify it, and then this building, because of the challenge of the
Right,
lower, higher, we had Richard Datner design a magnificent entrance. I don't know if people like it. I thought it was one of the most creative things I've ever seen, actually. Because you can't, the POPs regulations considers a residential building on the same level as the plaza, so you make a canopy over the plaza.
Right.
Here, you're 5 feet down, gotta go up, and they describe the fact that at the highest end of the, ensuring the code, highest end of the entrance is like at the second floor level, and you can't really do that with this, so it works better. Sorry.
How is the restaurant area delineated from the public area?
Yeah.
Will there be a barrier? Will there be?
A line,
There's a painted line on the grounds per.
Just a painted line?
Per
the
box,
line,
per
well,
box.
and then.
Per box,
The
okay.
restaurant is signing an agreement, is also the other issue right now, until we have this agreement. We can have it, so not only we have it the way we would like it, I mean, as owners and people would like to see it, same time it'll be the law, so that they get, it'll be enforced, so that this part is their part of the restaurant, it's clear, that's the way it is. And that, there'll be place settings on the tables, whereas the other tables will just be open tables that people will use.
And it's just tables, there won't be any
Okay.
No,
trash or anything from the restaurant
we're
on
hoping
that
not,
side?
yeah, right now, this is because the emergency egress is here.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like the back of the building, but making it open space, the idea is not to have anything back there. It's inside until the cleanup people come.
Okay.
So can I ask a question, actually? What is the number of seats? How many seating opportunities are there for the public in your entire?
We don't do it by seats, isn't that?
Wait, so there's 80 linear feet of seating, which is about 40 seats, which is 40 more seats than there currently is. And, we were balancing a bunch of things, like we are right up to like how many obstructions we can have in this plaza. So it was like a balance of, how much seating can we get in and still have our access around and still have, all these sorts of things.
Yeah, so, but I'm wondering, how come you're not activating, especially these areas in blue on the corner, and even the area in yellow, just on the south of
this?
Third Avenue? James, can you point out, right there? Yeah, those,
Their access
and the
here.
blue on the corner. How come those are not used for seating, knowing that in the past few years, you guys had a number of DOB violations for using more than your allowable space for cafe? So it feels only appropriate. I understand, COVID was a crazy time, and I know from my building, it's not easy to operate a cafe. But now that you are fixing that, and it's very exciting, why are you not trying to maximize how much seating you can put in there?
That's a.
Well, the purple areas are planting, on that corner.
Yeah, but they're not required. You chose to make them planting.
Well,
No, we actually have to have a certain amount of planting on the plaza.
First of all, we have a separation of grade.
Right.
So, the only place where it's actually flush is right here at this corner. It's 5 feet or it's 4 feet at least on that side, about 3 feet as it goes, so we don't want anybody falling in. And then the utilities in the building, we have fire hydrants and water connections, standpipes at different places. And originally, so it's like an infrastructure thing that they're there, so it's better to have them wrapped around with greenery than to have them standing in the middle.
Right, no, but Majid is asking why these areas, I think,
Yeah.
are not being activated with tables or other activities.
Which I understand their circulation to service the
Yes.
professional offices and the
They're
commercial
also
space.
right in front of the stores.
Right.
Yeah, so that the
Right,
store,
those are commercial.
Yeah, but if you
Yeah.
have like an ice cream store, they might wanna have tables outside,
well,
for example.
that's a question.
Movable chairs is gonna have to be added to the box of adding the certification.
Yeah, we have to go, we discussed all of this. So if it works with an ice cream store, they may want, we'd have to come back and have a conversation about, the way it used to be is whatever, at the beginning in
Because I
1970.
remember there was some sitting there.
Yes.
Certain point.
Yes,
First of all, is there a storefront, is there glazing here, is there glass?
Yeah.
Well, right now it's not, but it will be.
Okay.
See, used to be 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, commercial spaces. So now this is gonna be converted into one big space, and it's a eyeglass retail store, and so basically there's gonna be a storefront. There's a dentist, I think, in here now, and it's
So
closed
they
down.
don't need chairs.
And
It just
they,
seems like-
and they don't have chairs, right? That's exactly right. This here is a spa or a beauty parlor, I guess is the way to put it.
And the operator of the restaurant is the same you've always had? No,
we've had a
I
lot.
hope not.
Some of them are better
Okay.
than others. This is a
Okay.
brand new
A
restaurant.
brand new restaurant.
He started at the beginning of this, we didn't have anybody, and so we were doing it. And the fact that we had a restaurateur with us, we were able to discuss how he can make it work, because the idea is not to put so many, regulations on him that he can't actually perform his job.
Is this the medium rare space?
Yeah.
Medium rare,
Yeah.
They did a good job.
we think so too, so far.
Wow.
Alec, do you wanna?
What is the square footage of the Pops and what is the square footage of the space that will be occupied by the restaurant?
The Pops Plaza is about 4,000. 4,800
4,810.
square
What is it? I'm sorry?
4,810.
Yeah,
Okay.
4,800 and change.
And the square footage of the space to be occupied by the restaurant?
It's very small. It's 7.5 by 22.5,
Okay.
and then 24 foot 3 inches by 30 inches.
So does that square footage need to be reallocated or repurposed?
Oh, no,
for
it's not a
public?
building.
No, so the POPs regulations permit up to 20%, yeah, of a plaza to be occupied by an open air cafe.
Okay,
And for that area to be privatized for the patrons of the open air cafe, the policy behind it is that there is some benefit to attracting people in for services, food, it enlivens the plaza, it creates eyes on the street, so we don't have an empty space
Sure.
at all times. And we're way under the 20% here. When it's not in operation, those seats become open to the public.
so there won't be permanent infrastructure?
No,
There's
there's
no,
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 it's
okay.
it's just
Every
a,
night.
yeah, it's just a painted line on the ground. So
Okay.
for the on season, those seats can be used by the restaurant for the customers. In the off season, anyone in the public can sit there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think what's happened, with the new establishment is that, my name's Michael Ann, by the way. Is that they did start to encroach on the space again, so we're all like, oh my God, is this gonna happen again,
You're
number
right.
one. But it's really nice to see this design and and I think it could be an inspiration for other pop spaces, which I have my eyes on. I do a lot of green and cleaning in the city, and especially, in our neighborhood. 33rd Street is a eyesore. So is that wall coming down on that 33rd Street side as well? Where all of
A
the
large
irrigation
portion of
system
it
is?
is,
Yes.
right?
We're breaking through it, we're breaking through
You
it.
see here,
That's all coming down.
right now, there's
Yeah.
a little stair over here and there's access over here.
We're still leaving like slight walls for planting beds, but we're breaking through in a number of areas.
And what is the timeline on your project?
Sorry, wait, let's go 1% at a time. Jim, then we'll ask about timeline.
I'm just wondering, is this done in relation to the dining shed regulations? Was there a dining shed for that restaurant that?
No, it's a
that had
completely
to be
different
removed?
issue.
No, I
It's here,
understand.
here,
I'm just
here.
wondering if it
That's what made it a
was a
little
consequence of
confusing.
this.
If you look at a picture a year and a half ago, there was
Yeah.
big covering on top of the whole plaza.
A dining
And
shed.
then out here in the street, something else.
Yeah.
You had a
That was the
dining shed.
So they don't have a permit for.
I just wanted to know.
No, no, they didn't come for a permit, they didn't want a permit, they're really a restaurant, sit-down restaurant.
Okay, Maya, you had your hand raised, then Larry.
Hi, I had a question about the ramp that you guys have for ADA accessibility. And the diagram, you have like something blocking it from most of like where the cafe would be and all that. Like, what is that that's blocking it, and why is the directional the other way then?
No, the ramp.
The ramp.
The ramp, you
That's-
enter here, you come into the plaza, it's the way it is now.
It's a planter, just because the grade change is
Right.
different. The yellow area is lower.
Okay,
So the ramp to go up, it's a planter that's on the
Right.
side of it.
From here to there, about 4 feet.
It's for the residential access.
Right.
So where's your ADA compliance for the plaza, for the diners?
Yeah.
Oh, you have a
That's
direction?
straight down the street,
Okay.
level to the.
Fortunately, it's the only place that's at grade, everything
Right.
else we
That's
gotta have a
fine.
ramp.
Larry?
Two questions, following up on this, the grade, separation. Where you're going to have that, combined space, in the center on Third Avenue. What is the grade from the sidewalk, to get into the retail space?
It's a guess, from here at zero.
No, no,
here
the
at
center.
four. Yeah, over here someplace.
To the
Oh,
right,
the
a
center.
little bit further.
Yeah.
In the professional, yes.
How do you get in there? Look like there's a couple of
Stairs.
steps.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
there a, is there an ADA,
Access.
access to those stores?
The way it works now is you go in the service entrance and you go into the service entrance, you can get into the back of the store. That's how it is now. It's
Will that change?
pre-existing. It's a pre-existing, I think that's what.
I understand. Will that change with this?
Yeah, well, because we're having a new store.
No, but the access will still remain.
Yeah.
Through that service entrance.
It has to be, because otherwise we have to then take more green out. The ramp is kind of.
It doesn't fit.
No, right, that was why it was a little confusing. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
And then on 34th Street, could you go into a little bit more detail as to the location of the public seats and the orientation of them?
Yeah, so, there's a section of that area, if you flip to the last slide, you can see. So basically, those benches are up on. So it's that bottom right-hand corner detail. So you can see that person standing up on the sidewalk. There's a bench there on the sidewalk level, but on our property. And then we have it step down slightly to the planter with some planting in the trees. And then we have a larger step down in the wall
The
to
building,
where
that's the sidewalk.
it's a lot there. That's the steepest of them.
No,
It's
but
like
no, I'm
there's
asking
three different
which
rows.
way, which direction are those seats
They're
facing?
facing the street and they're backed. So they have a back and you're looking at the street. and you're
Right,
seeing-
on the sidewalk, there is some.
Right, yeah.
But then down in your sunken plaza,
Oh.
you have some additional ones,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, that one's.
Down here and here. See, this is a smaller version of the other map.
Those are
Seats
movable.
that are on the street are over here.
There's one bench there that's facing the building itself. And then
Okay.
there's a couple movable ones.
That's great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, one club, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
I just want to say that as someone who knows this building, I'm by there a lot, I don't understand how you fit all this in here, so, you really do this.
We got some creativity here. We have.
These are very narrow spaces.
Yes, they are.
It's awesome.
It's a challenge.
Okay, can I do just one follow-up? You mentioned there's a required number of square feet for greenery. Do you know what that is? 20% is your cap on seats. What is the cap or what's the requirement for green?
I don't think we came to greater accordance with the current standards.
Mhm.
And that was something city planning thought was important, was that we add more greenery. We don't meet the full requirement. There's not really enough space here and it would end up being too much obstruction.
Mhm.
But maybe point out where new greenery has been added. I think mostly it's just enhancement of the prior planter beds.
Yeah, if you go back to the overall plan, you can kind of look at it versus the
Sure,
existing
yeah.
plan in the upper right-hand corner. Kind of see, but I would say where we really added extra.
I'm too far. Yes, yeah.
You know, it's really, we actually are right about what we had before with planting, and that was because we're breaking through so many walls where there's planters now, that to make these openings. So really what we did is we came back with that big planter on the 33rd Street side where there had been a shed and other stuff. That's one place where we were able to create a planting, this is all on structure. So this is one place we were able to create a high enough planting bed to get a root ball in there and have a tree in there. And then we're doing all sorts of planting along on that wall, the brick wall that's on the west end of 33rd Street. We're doing planters with wood screening on that brick wall to have vines grow up it to make it nicer. So that's like, I'd say one big place, the place along 33rd Street, that was there. We're just breaking through in certain areas. That was all about opening it up. 3rd Avenue, we were able to get a lot of planting in because we kind of are just keeping the planters that are there. We aren't doing as many breakthroughs just because there's not as much space for people to go hang out down there. And then I think one big place that's made a big difference is on 34th Street. Instead of having these big hedges that they have in those current beds, we're really opening it up, putting in these smaller flowering trees and lower plantings that really allow you to see into the plaza more. Like right now, it's very barricaded feeling with the hedges there. And certainly, that whole corner is that raised brick planter that has all the metal edging on it, that's all gone. It's all gonna be flush
This is
with the
great,
sidewalk.
planting it great.
Got it.
That's going to be, I'm sorry,
Planting it great.
At grade, at the sidewalk level.
planting it great,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's only 5.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, what is the request of your attorney, I guess? Your attorney and you of this committee and the board? exactly.
If you can prove it, it'd be wonderful.
All right,
We're here to present.
Present it,
because we were
yes.
invited to present.
and you submitted the paperwork or you're about to?
Oh, no, the applications of the city planning already, so they
Okay.
referred it to you because
Fine.
they have found it to be completed
All right.
ready for referral and discussion.
Okay.
So you're the owner, you're
Is-
the lawyer, you're the designer. Got it.
Is there objection, anybody?
Actually, wait, can I just, Ali, or Aska, can I ask what's DCP's approach, knowing that this is a much older POPs application? What's DCP's approach just to ensuring that, you know, we're keeping within the limit of what's assigned here, knowing that, you know, again, I'm just, it was raised to me, thank you to the office, that there was a number of violations in the past. So this is an exciting project, but what's DCP's approach to ensuring that we won't have a bunch of violations in the coming years?
Well, a couple things. One is just that DCP isn't an enforcement agency, so the Department of Buildings would be in charge of enforcing any future violations, and they were in charge of issuing violations in the past when there were issues with the plaza. But in terms of sort of strategies for improving the plaza, as the applicant said, there will be lines delineating the plaza, or sorry, where the cafe boundary is meant to be, and that should be adhered to. And that will be part of the approval. They get this. The application, just to be clear, is being referred to the community board specifically for the cafe approval. They're doing two certifications. One is the design change, which they've explained, and then the second one is this approval for an open air cafe, and that's what's being referred to the community board. So just to be clear about what you're approving. But in terms of your question about how city planning sees enforcement in the future, really that is up to DOB. And also hopefully with more clear approvals for the space, because this plaza also has sort of a mixed history of approvals dating back to the fact that it was a 1210 plaza, but it had some additional obstructions that weren't in the original approved drawings. Now we're formalizing what is approved in this space, and that hopefully makes it easier for it to comply with what is approved going forward. But that's up to the building and DOB in the future for enforcement.
Just to add a bit of comfort to that, Ali, as well. I mean, as you said, this has a very unique history. There's not really one set of plans that codify what is supposed to be there now. There was some acquiescence or acceptance by the city for the prior open air cafe. Over time, that has obviously become problematic and violations were issued, but there were some letters from city planning prior that acknowledged the presence of the cafe there, and to some extent tacitly approved it under certain conditions, and the prior operator didn't follow conditions, unfortunately. Yeah, but nonetheless, what happens now, because we are in the current process, is there will be a notice of certification with the approved design recorded against the property that puts the entire public on notice what the exact design is that we present to the city planning and the chair presumably will approve. And from there, it'll be much easier for all agencies and the public to police the space, because now you'll have a very delineated plan that's available, recorded against the property and the land records.
And then the cafe is a separate approval.
They're separate approvals, but the notice of certification will cover both of those certifications, and there'll be plans for the overall design and plans to delineate exactly what the limits of the cafe
And
are.
we sign a lease with whoever it is,
Right.
and this is very, this is unique about this particular restaurateur is that he was listening to us as we're going, and occasionally there'd be a comment, this is not as practical as something else. And so I think we're gonna put it in, the clarity is, Barack was saying, is a big issue. We need our maintenance man to understand it, we need the merchant to understand it, and then the public to understand. Those lines, I think, it gotta help.
Okay.
I just want to also point out that one other important aspect of a cafe certification is that it's only issued for 3 years. So that is another, like if they want to renew that application to continue to operate the cafe, they have to come back to city planning. So that's another incentive for them to make sure they don't have violations throughout that, the 3-year time that they had that operational cafe. And, it kind of helps with how, when they come back, we look at all those things as well.
Yeah, they'll need to submit a compliance report when they're renewing their certification to make sure that they've been in compliance with the
the agreed upon plan.
On information,
Sorry.
on information. Do we? I know that we will do the whatever approval or not approval we do of their plan to redesign the space. But with respect to the cafe, don't we bifurcate that and leave that to business affairs and street activities?
So actually, business affairs have passed it on to us.
Oh, they did?
But Jim, that's why some of us are here.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Okay.
And I have a question.
But wait, let's have actually John.
Well, Anne was before me, so.
Okay, go ahead, Anne.
Yeah, I just have a quick comment and question. I'm glad to see you doing this work. I've spent way too much time at NYU Langone there and was never aware that this was a Pops. It just looked like a building, you know? So, but my concern is about the plantings. I was trying to read the names of the plants you're putting on there. I hope you are giving thought to native plants and plants that are bird and pollinator friendly. And also given that we're in like the longest drought since 1941, that they are resistant to multiple types of weather, which if they're native, they are more likely to be.
Right, I always design with native plants, so I totally understand what you're saying. In this particular plaza, I would say my design idea was to have about half of them be evergreen, because you know, you need to kind of have that sort of structure for the 6 months of the year when we don't have it. And
well,
then
evergreen can be bird friendly too.
Right, so like, you know, I have some azaleas in there. I do have boxwoods in there because they're pretty bulletproof. We have the cherry trees that we're coming back with. And then I have a number of grasses, like I have some fescue grass, and I also have some liriope, again, just because I'm trying to mix in stuff that I know can take a beating and the sort of, so I'm kind of trying to balance all the factors. But, you know, certainly open to, you know, hearing everyone's thoughts on that. And, you know, it's kind of a planting we'll do, and as plantings do, we'll see how it does, and we can always switch it out for other things as well. But that's really kind of the idea, is trying to really give it the structure and then kind of mix in things that are equally friendly to the environment and also can like live in a tough environment.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take one comment from the public. Go ahead, Elaine. Oh, John, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, as long as committee members have all had a chance to speak, I'm not on the committee.
Yes, yes, go for it, please.
Just to introduce myself, my name is John Keller. I'm a member of Community Board 6, and I'm on the Business and Affairs and Licensing Committee. This was on our agenda last Thursday, but was at the end of a very long agenda. We didn't have the advantage of this wonderful presentation, but there were two things that came out from the committee informally, not by way of a vote. The first was that we did understand that the footage for the restaurants around 20%. In general, we'd rather see Pops remain Pops, but we understand that that's not always practical. The second thing is that the restaurant, when it comes to us for approval of its license, we are going to be very concerned that this space be being taken care of in the way that it's supposed to be taken care of. Because of all the issues that have been here in the past. And we're absolutely delighted with the commitment to fixing and improving the space. But the restaurant should know that we will be very specifically looking at that when we look at their license approval. And the third was a smaller issue, but I think you've already addressed it, was that the signage it's just not clear that this is a Pops space. It's sort of, you have to go look for it, the signage. But those were the three thoughts that came out of the committee. Thank you, Ed.
Great. Thank you, John. Hello?
Hi, my name is Tanya Arias. My biggest concern, believe it or not, is the restaurant. And I'll tell you why. I have a very painful and costly experience with a restaurant in my building. I'm president of my board and it has been pretty brutal. So I'm wondering how many, how much seating is within the restaurant?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Do we know?
Well, I can find out. It's
Okay,
gotta be like, at least, this maybe 20% more than the square footage area is, whether. Yeah.
It's on the Zoom, right? Big
It's
space.
on the.
Does Dan know?
It's a big space.
Is Dan with
Are
your
you
team?
online?
Yeah, he is.
I'd have to check and get back to you on that. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
It's not the kind of thing that we know. Dan's a senior.
Oh,
vice
why
president.
you're asking, why you're.
I'm asking because, you know, you're leaving only 5 feet here, right? I'm 5 foot, basically.
Well, this is for path.
For path.
Yes.
Right, so now you have 2 rows of tables.
Well,
What,
it's, we don't know exactly, we just, Carla just laid it out.
That's the maximum extent of the tables. I can't.
That's just the area.
no, I
They can have.
understand, it's such a narrow
Yeah,
path.
another way to look at this is to make it 4, against each side, and you have, the line is still there, but there's no sitting on it.
That's what I'm thinking, because what happens is, you you have people eating, you only have 5 feet between people eating and the planters, and it's a public space. So it's tight, I have to tell you.
It's a
tight.
perception.
It's tight, and we've had many issues with, as you remember, because you had a prior operator.
Yeah,
Restaurants don't always necessarily,
well, the difference is that we have clear regulations. Our issue here has been, even when they were good, we talked about this at the beginning, and we said, they're opening up before we have this approval, and so if you go there, you went there when they first opened, which is like 2 months ago, I think, or about a month and a half ago, and there was a certain number of seating. Now there's much more, because there's nobody telling them what to do, and we're not gonna say yes or no until we have approval for this, and we make it.
I think what's really important to note is that in the past, the way it was operating was that entire space.
Yes.
Was currently occupied by.
Yeah, well, this precisely my point.
And now it won't be, that's what this approval is meant to do.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna suggest that you do draw the line, but you don't fill it all up, because you're dealing with 5 feet between somebody eating their meal and, people walking
And that
by.
gives a little buffer for the.
There has
the
to be a
service
buffer.
people.
And let them deal with,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And to note also, that was a dead end before, now the 3 staircases.
It's gonna change.
But also you have additional sidewalk, so I don't envision people walking there.
When is
They can
November
walk in
school
the
board
sidewalk.
meeting?
This
There
is
might
more
not be
people
fun.
going to the restaurant and the employees.
There's no access to space without having to go through that. Unless you are accessible, then
Yeah, but that's the wheelchair
you do have
accessibility.
to-
Can you speak one at a time?
So sorry.
That's the only wheelchair accessibility.
Right.
That's why it was very important for city planning to be
Exactly.
5 feet wide, so that they'd be clear for access.
Okay, sorry, to interrupt, and I totally understand some of that is just code, so as long as they're following. Gabe, you had a comment?
Just real quick, just get to the essence of the issue here. I love the beautification. If your tenant should violate the POPs regulations, will you commit to holding them accountable so we don't have to?
Of course.
And if so,
That's the idea. And then sometimes the landlord tries and it doesn't work.
Tell me about it.
So you go to the DOB.
It's not so easy.
Tell me about it.
Well, that's the reason the lease.
I like the
going to
3-year thing.
include
It's
this
a
as
very good thing. Everybody gets,
Exactly.
we don't mind that. We have rules that are clear and they make sense. We should do them. Use them. Simple.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, one last thing. Having been on pops that are in front of a
Good
building
ones,
that they
good
shoot
ones.
away by a doorman,
Oh.
This starts to look very specific to the residential portion, and I'm just a little concerned that it becomes essentially a de facto private garden to the residents.
Well, right now, there is no seating, and so I think the idea that our doorman will know that somebody's sitting there and just sitting there and not living there or doing something that's okay. And in fact, if I think we put chairs out there now, it would be okay because the doorman is standing right there and he goes out. And if things get really bad, the only thing actually that's ever worked was to wash the floor, you wash the floor, everybody's gotta get up, and so they get out. Otherwise, I'm short of calling the police, and this is not a very hard thing for the police to do unless somebody's really doing something bad. So it's a tough, people thing that you have to kind of work out.
You're correct, it's a very challenging space to make it inviting to the public because of how narrow and shallow and low it is. And I think what Carla, did very successfully was, it used to be visually impossible to even see into the space. Because all the hedges are so high, it felt completely private, you wouldn't even think to walk in.
Right, it's more of an operational thing, as long as the doorman are.
Everybody's afraid who's gonna go down there because they think bad,
It was
This is a
important to
public
try and create
space.
those seating opportunities for the public there. And also important to have those seating opportunities on the sidewalk side, knowing that some of the public may not be inclined to walk down the stairs and go in, there is an amenity there that people can use.
Okay,
Where are the seating and the sidewalks are?
34th Street.
Yeah, it's just on 34th Street on the other side of those two trees.
Okay.
okay, so a quick check just for ourselves. Business affairs and licensing pass this on to us. We have to comment, there's a 45-day referral period. The next time business affairs and licensing meets is on November 21st. Full board is on November 13th. So we cannot send it back to them. We have to vote on this. We have to put together a resolution which can reflect some of our concerns. And I'll just say very quickly, the position that I'm hearing from folks that this is a great benefit for our district. We need this. This is exciting, great for your building, great for all of us. We just had a research done here that shows that close to 40 POPs in our district don't comply. They come and they say the right things, they go, they don't comply. DOB is very overwhelmed, so they don't even issue them the violations. So just so you see where our concern is coming from. So with that, I'm gonna recommend, but I'm gonna let you speak.
No, I'm of the opinion that we could probably approve the redesign of the plaza. And then you could go resubmit to the business affairs and street activities for the approval of the cafe. I think it should be bifurcated.
So either Ali or Aska, can you confirm if that's actually how things work for this?
The community board is only approving the cafe.
The cafe or the plaza or the debris design?
The cafe certification that's temporary for 3 years. That's the one that has a requirement for referral to the community board. The design change certification is going at the same time, but it's not actually what the community board is approving. But Aska, is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
I thought we had to approve the redesign of the plaza as well. Public plazas, aren't you?
Technically, when you do a design change, the zoning resolution does not require that to be referred to the community board for consideration. But when you're doing an open air cafe, the zoning resolution.
Yeah, no, that I knew. I
So-
thought we had to wait.
Design change is not
with the redesign.
technically not.
Because we've done it.
The community board for zoning.
Because we've done it before.
Yeah.
We've done approvals of redesigns.
But let's hear from Ali, then other board members.
I'm not sure if this is what Barack just said because I couldn't quite hear it, but when we're doing an open air cafe certification, oftentimes we require that there's an improvement to the design as well, like as part of allowing for open air cafe to come forward. So then sort of as part of that, oftentimes the applicant will show that they've made an improvement to the design as well when they're showing you the cafe. But the thing that the community board is really approving is the cafe certification. That's that temporary certification for 3 years.
Got it. Thank you for the clarification.
And is it possible to have the current tenant attend the next board meeting?
Well, I guess we could ask them. If they want.
To hear
I
from
don't
them.
think they know.
But you know what, then it can change.
It is gonna change, it is how we have it in our agreement. And I think they're gonna say they're gonna do it, because that's way we had, and they started out saying that. It's just that we couldn't, because as Barack has explained, it was very different than this year. You can come in and use it. The other way, it's sort of a dead space. It just goes to, and so right now, there's no pressure, and so they're using it. I think if we tell them this is a real thing, they can start changing it, just that we gotta build this. So what we need to do is to get it approved, and then we'll make all the changes. And I am pretty sure they will conform. I don't think you need them to come and say, we're gonna conform. They'll say that anyway.
But they have to, you put a
Yes,
big fine if
exactly.
they
The
don't.
law is on your side, we're on your side.
I just want to note they're an established company with multiple locations in multiple cities and
And they have a restaurant in New York City.
I can, Bob, I can jump in and answer that. The group is a large group from the DC metro area. They've got, I believe, 8 restaurants already under operation, continuing to open more. They're a very established group with quite a lot of expertise, and they've done outdoor seating as well. So they have definitely got the ability to conform and run this properly.
Thank you. Brendan, you had someone?
Yeah, as the committee decides which direction to go in here, one thing to keep in mind, speaking of the 45-day time period, is that the deadline for us to respond, if we have a response, is December the 2nd. So any comments we have, if any, on this application need to come before full board in November.
Yeah.
Because December the 2nd is before December.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there objection from the members of the Business Affairs Committee that are online to anything you've heard so far?
No objection from me.
No objection for me.
Okay.
John?
We didn't take a vote. The only concern was that the space be taken care of as it's supposed to be taken care of.
All right.
Okay.
I would move then that we resolve to approve the application as submitted, as stated. Is there objection?
Second.
Jim, is it a support or no objection?
It's a no objection. Yes, no objection.
And I'll second that.
Okay. So
Okay.
roll call.
So when I call your name, please say whether you are in favor, opposed, abstained, or not entitled. Majid Abdul Samad,
In favor.
Tanya Arias,
In favor.
Victoria Benatar,
In favor.
Jim Collins,
Aye.
Maya Donahue,
In favor.
Alice Militic,
In favor.
Rich Mintz,
In favor.
Larry Shire,
In favor.
Letty Simon,
In favor.
Susan Steinberg,
In favor.
Gabe Terzo,
In favor.
and James Vera.
In favor.
With all 12 committee members in favor, this passes. We do need someone to put the resolution together.
The resolution just, we have no, if we do not object to this, Dr. Dutch.
I recommend that we list in the whereases some of the concerns we have that was mentioned, that were mentioned
About
here.
the encroachment of the restaurant on the public
Right.
space, about disabled access in all directions. And about access to the seating on the lower level and those things.
Yes, and if
Yes.
we also mention in there
Sure.
that DCP has weighed in and they've shared their perspective. So when the
Okay.
full board
Right.
vote, they know that this.
I understand. Okay, I can write it.
And
Thank you so much.
perhaps the Business Affairs and Street Activities could caucus before the full board meeting. Just to sign off
Do we
on
have
what
anything
we've
else?
done.
Okay, that sounds
Okay,
good.
John?
Thank you for
Thank you very
coming.
much.
We
I'll refer
appreciate
that to Anton.
Yeah.
I would certainly have no problem.
Huh? Okay.
I'll refer it to Anton, but I would have no problem.
Thank you.
Please pass back to the restaurant that we're happy that they're there. I've
Okay.
been there twice.
As long as they don't have to come to the meeting, I think they'd be very happy. This is good. I have their contact.
Okay, yeah, thank
All
you.
right. So the rest of the meeting is gonna run faster right now. And that's mainly because Gabe and I had originally committed to have an interactive exercise to talk about the water club. Now, we were ambitious and we didn't get as much work done before this meeting as we would have liked. So we're gonna tackle this next month, but we want to give a quick update on the FDR. If you remember, and especially for new board members, new committee members, we had done this. The board had commissioned a study on the future of the FDR that put together just an initial vision that was put up for a vote. The full board voted on it. I think it was unanimous. Since then, we've been taking it to share with our elected officials. We've presented for the Borough president to present it to Borough board. We are right now working with, thank you, Jesus and Brendan, CB. We're trying to present the CB 3, 8, and hopefully 11. We're trying to get on the calendar of other elected officials to present that study. And our goal is to try to get funding so we can advance it and elevate the discussion about the future of the FDR. Is that an accurate summary of where the FDR is? Okay, there's a small task force that works on this Sandy is the approver of that, the formation, so we'll have more updates next month on that. Yeah, and I'm just gonna suggest then that we take up Water Club as part of it, because one of our priorities is we need more green space. Well, the Water Club site is a prime location for that. So,
I have a
any
question on the
thoughts?
water club. I'm confused. At one point, we said that the actual barge was condemned, and now they say it's not. Is it condemned or is it not?
Evidently, it's not. They had initially told us the bulkhead is damaged. It would cost so much money to maintain any part of that part of the building, and
Right.
therefore they want to give it, just condemn it. And then we just recently heard, Jesus, correct me if that's not correct, that that's actually not fully true. EDC maybe have done more assessment, and it's not fully condemned. At least they haven't decided as such. Is that accurate?
Hearsay, yes, but
It's
it might be,
hearsay.
it might be good to have them say it
Yeah,
at a public meeting
and in
at
writing.
some future time.
Okay, yeah. So, and the update on that is that last time we spoke, we discussed that Sandy and myself would summarize the committee's discussion in a letter that goes to EDC. And we've done just that. We wrote that letter, it was sent out. So at least EDC has heard what we had last discussed during September's meeting.
Okay.
Okay, if there are no other thoughts on this point, okay, 2 items as part of my chair's report. Tomorrow, the Manhattan Board of President's Office has a session on understanding housing financing. It's a training. Sounds pretty interesting. Happens tomorrow at 5. It's virtual. We can circulate the link after 5 p.m. Yes. It sounds pretty interesting. If you are interested in that, we talk a lot about, increasing affordable housing in our district. Definitely for the housing committee as well.
You sending the link to?
Yeah, can
We will
you
circulate the
send
link
the link?
after.
Circulate the link.
Yeah, I am interested.
Yeah,
Yeah, me
Brendan,
too.
I can service it in there.
Yeah, please.
It's housing finance.
Yeah, if someone could send it
Yeah.
to the office can then circulate it to the committee.
I'll send it right now.
Yeah.
It's at the top line.
And we need to register or just join in?
Yes,
You need to
We
register, but I don't think they cap these things. It's virtual, so you can.
Yeah.
yeah.
All
And
right,
the office can circulate the link either tonight or first thing tomorrow.
thank you.
All right, so that's us educating ourselves on the topic. The last item I have is that December meeting that we have for our committee is December 23rd. It's way
I
too
will
close
be
to
here.
Christmas, yeah. Therefore, we would suggest, if it works for folks, that we do a week before and aim for December 17th.
Perfect
That
for me.
apparently is available.
Yes,
Better.
I will be in Germany on December 20th
Yeah.
Okay.
Susan,
Christmas
James,
in
does that
Germany.
work for you?
Yes.
with my grandson.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, you need to check.
I need to check.
Where?
They're
like,
outside of
Yep.
Kaiserslautern.
I'm sorry, what date were you
It-
talking
It's
That would be
it's in
Tuesday,
the
December 2nd.
southeast of
Okay.
Germany, in the
Tuesday, 17th.
Palatine, they're like an
Tuesday,
hour's
December
drive
December
I only
17th.
know the big.
from the French.
If a number of committee members will need to check their calendars. if you'd like,
Frankfurt's
I
about
can
an hour
send
and a
an
half
email.
from Frankfurt.
I can send an email to the committee.
Let's see if there are any thoughts. I didn't hear from Gabe, Larry.
November 17th.
Yes, yeah,
So
17th
far,
is-
so good.
yeah. Maya,
Any objections?
Letty, any objections?
I have a board meeting that night, so I'm not sure.
Got it. Noted.
That works for me.
Okay, seeing that it works for the majority,
Mm.
we might do it then, and Letty, we will debrief you after.
And
Well,
I can view the video.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, with that, all the new business. Anyone got anything to share?
Just on the thing I mentioned last meeting was that cantilever building at Gramercy Park. I've reached out to a couple of people. I haven't heard anything back.
Yeah,
Anybody
you brought it up.
in Gramercy Park?
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. All right, seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8:04. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Letty.
Everybody.
Good night.
Great.
Bye, bye, man.
Good night. Good night, John.